Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a special screencast-o-matic presentation that's meant to be a helpful tool for you guys to use in completion of the final part for the Race to the White House lesson, Part 1. In this particular section, which is the final section of Part 1, we're going to be looking at the primary and caucus results of our nation in the 2020 presidential primary season. So before we get started, please let me encourage you to open up to the lesson like this, to go to Unit 4, Lesson 3 specifically, and then of course to open up the doc right here. Now, if you attended our virtual class, you know that we pretty much conquered Crash Course together and also the reading on the political speech that was given as a sample template, which is great. However, we are going to look at this right here to give you better context for how to complete this accordingly. Step 4 is winning the primary and caucuses. So building a good campaign is one thing, giving good stump speeches is another, but winning the primaries and caucuses for your party's nomination is quite the daunting task. Use the links here to analyze how each of the Democratic candidates did in their pursuits of the nomination for their party. Complete the table accordingly. So what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to look at the specific results coming in from the different states who voted in the primary season by clicking on that link here, and you should get a page that looks like this. And what we're going to essentially do is we're going to really just look at each state here and analyze the top 3 finishers, their percentages, and of course the delegates won. Please keep in mind that you need a certain number of delegates to clinch your party's nomination. And so that's what some of these numbers, of course, refer to. Okay, so let's go and get started. And remember, I encourage you guys to actually, press play and then pause at the correct parts here so you can fill in the chart. Let's go ahead and start off with Iowa, which is the first caucus in our primary season. The Iowa caucus basically went down like this. So you guys should go ahead and write this down in your column. In the left-hand column, please put Pete Buttigieg in first place, Bernie Sanders in second, and Elizabeth Warren in third. Pete Buttigieg won 26.2% of the state delegates. Bernie Sanders won 26.1%. Elizabeth Warren won 18.1%. And then for pledged delegates, Buttigieg won 9%, Sanders won 12%, and Warren won 5%. So guys, in a sense, you're going to click on each state like this, and then of course write down their numbers of results in these respective columns. The names of the 3 winners, the percentages, and the actual number of delegates won. Okay, so that's Iowa. Let's move on to what I believe is the next state, New Hampshire, which is the first primary. In New Hampshire, the electoral results pretty much went down like this in the primary. Bernie Sanders won the primary, followed by Pete Buttigieg, followed by Amy Klobuchar. Sanders won 25.6% of the vote. Buttigieg won 24.3%. Klobuchar won 19.7%. In terms of pledged delegates, Sanders won 9%. Buttigieg won 9%. Klobuchar won 6%. Let's go to the next state here. The second caucus is Nevada. Nevada is all the way over here. Bernie Sanders won the caucus in Nevada, followed by Joe Biden, followed by Pete Buttigieg. Bernie Sanders won 46.8% of the county delegates. Biden won 20.2%. Buttigieg won 14.3%. And in terms of pledged delegates, Bernie Sanders won 24%. Biden won 9%. Pete Buttigieg won 3%. Okay, there you go. Let's move on to the next chart. The second primary, which is South Carolina. South Carolina is located right down here. Joe Biden, in a surprising upset, won South Carolina pretty handily in first place, followed by Bernie Sanders in second, followed by Tom Steyer in third. In terms of percentages, Biden won 48.6%, Sanders won 19.8%, and Tom Steyer won 11.3%. In terms of pledged delegates, Biden won 39%, Sanders won 15%, Steyer won 0%. So there you go. Let's move on to the next state here. Super Tuesday. I should say next states, right? Let's go and break down these states one by one. Alabama is up next. Alabama is located right here. Joe Biden came in first place, Sanders in second, Mike Bloomberg in third. Joe Biden won 63.3%, Sanders won 16.5%, Bloomberg won 11.7%. In terms of pledged delegates, Biden won 44%, Sanders won 8%, Bloomberg won 0%. Let's move on to the next section here. Arkansas. Joe Biden was the winner there, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Joe Biden won 40.6% of the vote. Sanders won 22.4%. Bloomberg won 16.7%. And the pledged delegate breakdown is like this. Joe Biden won 21, Sanders won 9, Bloomberg won 1. And after Arkansas, we have California, a big primary state. Bernie Sanders won California, coming in at first place, followed by Joe Biden, followed by Elizabeth Warren. Bernie Sanders won 225 pledged delegates at 36% of the vote. Biden won 27.9% of the vote at 172 pledged delegates. And Warren won 13.2% of the vote with 11 pledged delegates. Colorado. Located right here, Bernie Sanders won the state of Colorado, followed by Joe Biden, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Bernie Sanders won 37% of the vote. Biden won 24.6%. Bloomberg won 18.5%. Sanders at 29 pledged delegates. Biden at 21. Mike Bloomberg at 9. Let's move on to the next one here. Maine. Located right here at the top. Joe Biden won the state of Maine, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Elizabeth Warren. Joe Biden won 34.1% of the vote, followed by Sanders 33.0%, and Warren at 15.7%. In terms of pledged delegates, Biden won 13, Sanders won 9, Warren won 2. Let's move on to the next one here. Massachusetts. Okay, so the state of Massachusetts, and we might have to zoom in for this one here, which is fine. Joe Biden won the state of Massachusetts, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Elizabeth Warren. Joe Biden came in at 33.5% of the vote, followed by Bernie Sanders at 26.7%, followed by Elizabeth Warren at 21.5%. Joe Biden won 45 pledged delegates, Sanders won 30, Elizabeth Warren won 16. Interestingly enough, this was Elizabeth Warren's home state. Next is Minnesota. In the state of Minnesota, Joe Biden came in first place, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Elizabeth Warren. Joe Biden got 38.6% of the vote. Bernie Sanders got 29.9% of the vote. Elizabeth Warren got 15.4% of the vote. Joe Biden won 49 pledged delegates. Bernie Sanders won 29, and Elizabeth Warren won 5. Down here is North Carolina. North Carolina, Joe Biden won pretty handedly, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Biden won 42.9% of the vote. Sanders won 24.2% of the vote. Bloomberg won 13% of the vote. Biden won 68 pledged delegates. Sanders won 37 pledged delegates, and Mike Bloomberg won 3 pledged delegates. As you guys can see as we're going on here, this pretty much became like a two-man race between Biden and Sanders, respectively. Next, let's go to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is located right over here. Joe Biden won Oklahoma, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Joe Biden won 38.7% of the vote, followed by Bernie Sanders at 25.4%, followed by Mike Bloomberg at 13.9%. Biden won 21 pledged delegates, Sanders won 13 pledged delegates, Bloomberg won 2 pledged delegates, and in this way, that's the state of Oklahoma. Let's go to Tennessee. Down here in Tennessee, Joe Biden won and came in first place, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Biden won 41.7% of the vote, Sanders won 25.0%, Bloomberg won 15.4% of the vote, Biden won 36 pledged delegates, Sanders won 22 pledged delegates, and Bloomberg won 5 pledged delegates. Okay, moving on. Texas. Located right here, Joe Biden won the state of Texas, followed by Bernie Sanders, followed by Mike Bloomberg. Joe Biden won 34.6% of the vote, followed by Bernie Sanders' 29.9% of the vote, followed by Mike Bloomberg's 14.3% of the vote. Joe Biden won 114 pledged delegates, Bernie Sanders won 99, and Mike Bloomberg won 10 pledged delegates. In the state of Utah, right here, Bernie Sanders won the state of Utah with 36.1% of the vote, followed by Joe Biden at 18.4% of the vote, followed by Elizabeth Warren at 16.2% of the vote. The pledged delegate breakdown is like this: Sanders at 16, Joe Biden at 7, and Elizabeth Warren at 3. Let's go over here to the great state of Vermont. Vermont is located up here, where Bernie Sanders would win the state of Vermont, which is his home state. Not surprising there. Bernie Sanders first place, followed by Joe Biden in second, followed by Elizabeth Warren in third. Bernie Sanders won 50.7% of the vote, Biden won 22% of the vote, Warren won 12.5% of the vote. In terms of pledged delegates, 11 went to Sanders, 5 went to Biden, and none went to Warren. And finally, let's close out here with Virginia. Really important state here. In the state of Virginia, Joe Biden came in first place, followed by Bernie Sanders in second, followed by Elizabeth Warren in third. Joe Biden actually won 53.3% of the vote, Bernie Sanders won 23.1% of the vote, Elizabeth Warren won 10.8% of the vote. In terms of pledged delegates, Biden at 67, Sanders at 31, Warren only at 1. So guys, after Super Tuesday, it became pretty transparently clear that Joe Biden was on his way to become the nominee, and with Bernie Sanders dropping out and some of the candidates doing so as well, this cleared the path to his nomination going into the convention, which is what we're going to pick up on next time we have class. So I hope you found this to be a great tool, especially for those of you guys who are not so good at geography and finding the states on a map. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the lesson.